I have Rebecca Rosen on, and she is a spiritual medium and a best-selling author who, for more than 2 decades, has served as an ambassador between the spirit world and our day-to-day world. She relies on wisdom and insight from angels, guides, and those who have passed on to people seeking answers in the here and now. Her work, which includes individual and group readings, books, online courses, large events, and a podcast, her work, which includes individual and group readings, books, online courses, large events, and a podcast, it's called Small, Medium, at Large, empowers people to live with intention by reminding them that we are never alone, that we have the ability to connect to our team spirit. And today we dive into, how do you connect with your team spirit? How do you connect with loved ones that have passed from this earthly plane? You guys, this is going to be a fun episode. Let's welcome Rebecca Rosen right now.
I love your backdrop. It's a
Oh,
great
thank
wall.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have you on the show. I actually heard about you from a dear friend of mine because I was sharing with him in a very private conversation these things that were starting to happen for me. And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to tell anyone. Do you know Rebecca? And I'm
No.
like, no. And he goes, she has this gift to really connect with people that have passed on. And she talks about it openly. You should reach out to her. And I was like, I'm just going to have her on the show.
Oh, I love it.
I'm just going to have her
Even better.
and highlight
Yeah.
this because I want to hear from you. Where did these gifts start coming online for you? And how did that all evolve?
Yes. Okay. So, this was one of those things that I did not go seeking. I was a young woman in college. This was back when I was about 20 years old. And I was going through my own dark night of the soul. And I was experiencing depression. My father had attempted to take his life. There's just a lot of emotional stuff going on back home. And I started sleep eating in the middle of the night.
You would
And
wake up,
yeah,
meaning like you
just
didn't
like
even know you were
sleepwalk. Yeah, sleepwalk into the kitchen. And
interested.
yeah, it took seconds and I would wake up and what is going on? And it was just so out of control. And clearly I was stuffing my emotions down with food. And it went on for 6 months. And I was desperate for help. I didn't know what was going on other than I knew something was wrong. I prayed. And one day my prayers were answered when I was journaling. I was sitting at a bookstore just writing my feelings. And this energy took over. And she said she was my dead grandmother who died 10 years prior from suicide. And she came to me, it was my dad's mom, and she said, I'm here with your angels. Now, granted, I did not grow up in a household where we talked about angels or any paranormal or any psychic stuff at all. I was raised in a conservative Jewish household. I wasn't very religious, but I did believe in something bigger. When Grandma Babe started talking to me, I thought I had mental illness like she did. I thought something was very wrong, but she knew I was in doubt, and she gave me 3 things that nobody could know to call my father and confirm it was her. And so I ran out of the bookstore, called my dad. Sure enough, all 3 things checked out. And he said, I don't know what you're doing or how you're doing it, but you are talking to my mother. And so Grandma Babe was there to help me not go down the same dark road alone that she went down. Okay. I was nowhere near suicidal, but who knows? Maybe I was headed that way. And she and my angels every day said, connect with us through journaling, which I later understood was automatic writing. And I did. And I did the work for 18 months. And that was the basis of my first book, Spirited. It's basically, it tells that memoir, but it's a self-help program for anybody. We can all connect with that inner guidance and our team spirit that I like to call it, which happened in this case to be one of them, my grandmother and my guides. And let me just tell you this. I thought I was making it up those whole 18 months, but it was working and I stopped sleep eating. And she said, you are going to meet your soulmate and here's some clues. And because you have done the work from the inside out to love yourself, you can then share it with somebody else. She told me his name would be Ryan. She said he's going to give you a rose and his exact birthday, 9/24, September 24th. Now, this was back in 1997. So we didn't have
This
social
was in
media.
1997 when you got this message.
Yes. And we didn't have social media back then, right? I don't even know if I had a computer. And so I did the work. I was healed, no more sleep eating. I understood the bigger lessons in it for me. Fast forward a few weeks later, my mom, during one summer break, introduced me to this guy named Brian. And then when we were on our second date, it hit me, oh my God, this might be Ryan because his last name was Rosen. So you take the B off Brian, you get Ryan
Right.
Rose, right?
Yeah.
So I then dug through my journals and I called him. And again, I just met this guy. And I said, is your birthday September 24th? And he's like, how would you know? Yes, it is. So I'm like, oh my God, I am not making this up. This is real. So I had gotten an advertising degree and, I never used it. And I said, look, Spirit, like they kept saying, go share this gift with others. And I was still in some doubt. But I said, okay, fine. You bring me the people. And long story short, that was my first marriage. I did marry Brian Rosen. Okay. As Grandma Babe said, he and I had a soul contract and it was lovely and beautiful. But I was really reluctant to come out of the closet, so to speak, with this ability. But
How old were
25,
you when you were starting to come and be like, "I'm gonna start stepping into
22.
this"? How
I
mu
was 22.
That's so young.
I know.
You're
And
so
so
brave.
I've been doing it for 25 years now. So this was like really a journey of faith and trust. So I came out and I just said, okay, bring them to me. And 3 months later, I started doing readings for friends of friends, then out of a coffee shop. And then 3 months later, I end up on the cover of a very big publication in Detroit. And that started my business back in 2000. So that is my journey. And now I feel my purpose not only is to be the bridge, I do readings, I connect people, I give evidence. I'm an evidence based medium. Like I want to alleviate people's doubt. And so I give you very specific information, Spirit does through me, that nobody could know to build your own authentic faith. And then give you the really healing, important universal messages. I'm sorry, or I'm okay, or I love you, or I'm proud of you. The things we all want and need to hear. But I also think part of my gift and responsibility is to empower other people to trust their own connection and do it for themselves and not always give their power away running to the next psychic or medium for the answers.
Wow, this is really powerful. So your big mission now is to really show people this is how what you have access to this. You don't have to go to a psychic or a medium. I'm going to show you how you can tap into this within yourself.
Exactly. And
Wow.
I have dedicated my life's work. I've written a few books, and the books they are roadmaps, they are tools for people. I've created meditations, right? I have a podcast answering people's questions. Like I love being a guide for people. I don't want to be people's guru, right? I'm not a guru,
Yes.
but I am a guide to show you, just like me, for the first 20 years of my life, I had no clue this spirit world existed, let alone that we could communicate with it. I always say that your team spirit it's 11:11 right now. I feel like that's a sign,
I know, I just see that.
right? But I feel like spirit is always giving us signs. Spirit's always talking to us. And if we listen, they become like the best therapists and teachers and cheerleaders that we could ever ask for. And life is not meant to be a struggle. We can find more grace if we can co-create it with the divine and with our team of helpers available. But because of free will, we have to invite it in.
Do you feel like this has been, I want to call it an art just because I believe all of us have art in us. Do you feel that this ability was always within the people? Like it was something that was more well known and just talked about and just acknowledged. And with the advancements of our race and just maybe even in this Western world, we've lost that fundamental connection, and we haven't lost it, but we forgot that we had it.
Yes, yes. I think we are born forgetting on some level. It's that spiritual amnesia, mainly because you want to come in on a blank slate and not with every past life you've ever lived, like top of mind,
Yeah.
because that could get very confusing. But on a soul level, we always know. And I think as kids, we naturally are intuitive and connected to that world until we're talked out of it by our caregivers or the world around us, or it's not nurtured, right? But we can remember at any time. And I think so many people are waking up now on the planet and realizing we are not a body. We have a body. We are a soul. We are eternal light. And that light doesn't die. Nothing dies, right? It just changes form. And so here we are in a body having this human experience. It's that quote, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And we can plug into this infinite wisdom and connection so that we don't feel alone. We do feel connected to this divine guidance. And we remember our soul contract, why we're here in Earth School right now, what our lessons are, and how we can fulfill that purpose.
Wow, this is so good. So I love how you just said that when we transition, it's not that we've left, it's just that we've changed form, that we're energy. So would you say that loved ones, or not even, they don't even have to be someone you loved, but just loved ones, because we're all, if you think about it, we're all just love and infinite light connecting with one another. But let's just use that word loved ones because people want to connect with their loved ones and they want to feel that they're near, even though they've passed on from this form. These loved ones that have passed on are wanting to connect with
Yeah.
most people that are still on
Yes.
this earth plane.
Yes. Our ancestral line is available to us in a different frequency, a different dimension. Some of them become our spirit guides if they can empathize with our journey and our lessons. Some of them are just cheerleaders there to give us moral support. We have angels, we have ascended masters and archangels, and we have pets. Some of people's best guides are their childhood pet. And I always say animals are like angels. They're pure unconditional love, and they come in to support us physically during a period of time in our journey. And then when they leave, a lot of times they pick up where they left off behind the scenes. And so they want to be there for us. And they come and go based on your needs and where they're at in their soul's evolution. But at any given time, we always have one guide, if not many.
At any given time, all of us have at least
All of
one,
us.
and some
So
of us many.
and some of us more high maintenance souls, or if we're going trust me, I've been there. If we're going through a really messy time in our life, you might have more guides, more support. We're all born with one guardian angel, and we have a collective team. Again, I call it a team spirit. Any of my books, if people are interested, breaks down the
We'll
team.
list all these books. By the
Okay.
way, we need to
Yeah.
list all these books in the show notes because so people can get these.
Yeah, they can access it and then figure out who they are, what they do, how to work with them. But anyways, they're always there. And so it's on us to invite them in. And you don't have to do much other than just say to my team spirit, please be with me, help me, guide me, show me next steps.
Ask. Yeah. They're not
And
going to impose, they're not going to take away free will. You have to ask.
they honor and respect our free will choices, our boundaries. But for some clients, I'll say, hey, are you wearing your son's bracelet or necklace? Yes, I wear it every day. And then I'll say, Spirit is saying that's an invitation. You don't even have to ask if you intend it. You put on the necklace. I want you to be with me. Please show me signs. That's asking. So it doesn't always have to be a literal invitation.
Wow, that's really
Yeah.
beautiful. All right. Can you give us some guidance for someone who's, oh man, I would love to connect with someone on the other side? What do I need to do?
The most important thing is that you need to get out of your head. Okay. Guidance doesn't come in our heads. It comes in through our hearts. So I think so many of us are wired with the monkey mind and we're in the human experience. And so I think the best way to get out of your head is to drop into your heart. And you can do that a lot of ways, but breath work, just really breathing. If you're breathing, it means you're in your body. It means you're present. Focus on your breath. Set the intention to really drop into your heart out of your head. Then pray. And prayer, it doesn't have to be religious. It's just truly a conversation with the divine and with your loved ones on the other side. And so whether you say it out loud or you just say it from your heart quietly, you don't even have to say it, feel it. Really, spirit responds to our feelings, not our words, and invite them in and say, I miss you so much. I really want to feel you. I need a sign. I need hope that you're still there. I need to know you're okay. Show me a sign. Come to me in a dream. Just whatever it is, put it out there and then let go. And so maybe in that moment, you would just sit and you meditate, you be still and you receive. Okay. You might get an overwhelming feeling. A thought might come to you, a vision, a sound, an audible sound. It comes in different ways. And for some people, it's just a knowing. out of nowhere, you have an aha moment. Something just plops into your consciousness, right? And that is spirit communicating with you. And so you have to figure out what is your style. Again, I have books that can help you walk through this to figure it out because it's not a one size fits all.
Right.
We're all wired differently, but figure that out. But then sometimes it comes like you really want to connect with them, but it's not happening in your meditation or you are in your head and you can't seem to get out of it. Get up, go about your day, and then be open to signs that are going to show up. Don't go look for them. We don't want to force it. We just want it to be organic. Just be open, pay attention, be present. And then let's say 11:11 was a sign with your mother who died, and then you happen to look at the clock and it's 11:11, right? So it's pretty magical, but again, I think it's just so simple and we overcomplicate it. So I think it really is getting out of the mental noise or all the chatter, finding that still, quiet space and place and setting that intention and then letting go. And then the communication will happen naturally.
Wow, that's really beautiful. I don't know, I'm feeling called to share this story because it just recently happened. I started playing pickleball with this community, which when you start playing pickleball, you really don't know anything about their past. And I became friends with this older guy who is from Texas and he doesn't really believe in any of this. And he's not into that kind of conversation, but we start talking because he just loses his dad and he was best friends with his father. And he was really sad and he was starting to turn to drinking and wasn't showing up to pickleball. And we were all just a little worried about him. And so I was trying to get him to come to pickleball. And one time he did show up and I was like, hey, how are you doing? We just had this moment where we're standing outside of this pickleball court. And I've stood on this pickleball court so many times in Colorado. I said, have you felt your father since he's passed? And we're opening up the conversation with him. And I said, I believe these loved ones are always with us and they're constantly communicating. It's up to us to see how they're going to communicate. And he's, that would be amazing if my dad would communicate with me. And then all of a sudden we hear this like loud noise above us. And it's this like very old style. I've never seen anything like it. It's like a prop plane, but it was like old school, like the thick board type prop plane. And it's flying like really low and it's so loud. And he looks up and he goes, my dad used to fly a prop plane just like that. And I'm getting goosebumps as I'm talking about it right now, but I was getting goosebumps and I was like, have you ever seen a prop plane since then like that? That is the oldest prop plane I've ever seen. I've never even seen one like that. And he's, that looks just like my dad's.
Wow.
And he's looking up and we're looking up and all of a sudden the prop plane starts doing these circles and creates with the exhaust a heart in the sky. And I was like, it's your dad. And he just started to tear up because he couldn't even articulate what had just happened. And I was
That's
like,
amazing.
you cannot make this stuff up. This is magic right
You
now.
can't. That's
So,
amazing. And as you were telling the story, my computer froze. And the spirit will, whenever they're around, they'll mess with lights and electricity. And so
our computer
that's
right
another
now.
validation. Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. I'm glad you shared that because spirit will do whatever they can to comfort you, to show you this is real, that they have not left energetically. They're still there by your side and they can create miracles. Miracles are meant to be common and everyday, but we have to be open and
Mm,
suspend our doubt and judgment long enough to receive them.
yeah. Would you say that after, since you were starting this in your 20s, you were starting to receive this information, is it like training in a gym? I'm gonna use an analogy. Like, you know how you just go to the gym at first and it's a little awkward and you're sore and you're not really sure if you're seeing results. And then over time, you just become really good at lifting weights and become efficient with knowing how to do it. Do you feel like you've gotten really efficient with it? Like you could meet with anybody and feel like you could drop in and
Yeah.
receive information?
Yes, I think with anything you do all day, every day, you master it. And I've more than put in my 10,000 hours. And I just, of course, this is what I do. So it's more natural than honestly being a human. I love getting to do this. But intuition is like a muscle. And the more you work it, the stronger it gets. You have to be consistent. You have to be patient with the process and you have to trust it. And as long as you show up and you're open and you're doing the work, you will develop it and then it will become second nature. It's easy. And that's where I'm at. But anybody, again, can get there. I do want to make a point. I don't think anybody can do it for everybody. I think
Right.
some of us are just naturally wired more sensitive and intuitive. And for some of us, it truly is our sole purpose, our contract. But all of us can do it for ourselves.
I
That's
think
my
that's an
point.
important thing to
Yeah.
say is that you can do it for yourself, but don't think that you should be doing it for everyone else. That's
Right. Unless it is your calling and you will know. Spirit will make it loud and clear, like me. You will have opportunities to show up and be of service in that way, and it will feel natural and organic.
I'm going to take a turn for a minute. I want to ask you as a channel, because I have a different, I want to learn from you for a minute as an individual, and potentially someone listening really needed to hear this as well. When you're channeling for others and doing this work, is it hard on your body, or is there things that you do to make it not hard on your body?
So such a good question because in my beginning years, I didn't have good spiritual hygiene. I didn't realize how much energy I was funneling through my body every day. It is hard on the vessel. That's why I am limited in how many people I can see each day, each week. I've really had over time to figure out my sweet spot so that I can still function. I have a lot of kids. I have a family. I have a personal life. I have to be able to balance the two. And so, anyone doing this in the beginning, I think it's harder because you don't always know how to manage your energy or have healthy boundaries with the spirits. You have to be very discerning on what energy and what frequency you will work with. There's
Mhm.
different levels in the spirit world. I always feel better at the end of my day when I work with my more evolved clients who I can go to the higher guides and the angelic realm versus working with somebody. And it's fine and necessary to go to the lower levels of the astral plane, which aren't as high of a frequency. But that's where some of maybe the more troubled souls are that need some healing and reconciliation. And so everything is energy, as we talked about. Some energy is vibrating really high and fast, and some energy is really low and slow. Some is light, some is dark. I only work with the light. I only work with souls who have pure good intentions, even if they made mistakes, even if they had issues, no problem, as long as their intention is pure. And so you have to figure that out. And so once you do, then it's not as hard on you because you have your boundaries and the good spiritual hygiene I mentioned. And tools. What I have recently discovered for me, one of the most powerful ways to clear after I do a day of readings is sound healing music. So I have a very kind, generous client gifted me these crystal sound healing bowls and make them
Oh, cute.
chime and they
Yeah.
clear your field. And I can't even tell you the difference in my energy.
By
I
just
mean,
playing them at the end of
yes.
your day.
For 10 minutes, I sit there and I play them, and they literally light and sound are the fastest frequencies and vibrations, and they have a way of transforming us, ascending us, clearing. I use them to clear all my crystals. If there's a negative energy in my house, I use them to clear that. That has been a game changer, and only in the last not even a year. So I'm constantly evolving and learning what will help sustain my energy so I can keep showing up and being of service to people.
Right. When you're so for someone who's going in by for themselves and really just trying to connect with a higher power, maybe it's a higher power, maybe it's a loved one that's passed on. You're just recommending that they go to their heart, really set that intention that I'm going to be in my heart, less here, down into my heart. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to really put that intention out there and then I'm going to ask. Is that pretty much what you're saying? And then you sit with it and see what comes up. See
Yes.
if it's a sign, if it's a sound, if it's a color, if it's a knowing, because everybody receives in different ways of
Yes.
how someone's going to communicate with you.
Yes, exactly. And give it time. Don't just say one and done. Say, I'm going to do this regularly, maybe once a week for a few weeks or once a day for a few weeks, because it builds. It's like we said, it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the stronger it gets and the more you trust it because you will start getting undeniable things that happen that you can't make up. And you're like, that builds your faith. It alleviates doubt that maybe you're making this up. But be consistent with the process, your practice. Figure out what works for you. What works for me may not work for you.
Right.
It's really be curious with it, give it time. And yeah, I promise you, you will have an authentic experience because spirit is waiting. That's why they're coming to me saying, Rebecca, we've got to get to her. And so you're not listening. And that's why people feel drawn. They're like, I don't know why I'm here, but I feel like someone's trying to get in touch with me. And sure enough, they've been waiting at the door.
Wait. Yeah, that's amazing. Do you, in kind of closing, we gave it just a touch, and I really recommend people grab your books because it's going to be way more in depth. I know, because writing a book, you just tend to pour everything out onto those
Yeah.
pages. You're like, here it all is, everybody. Whoever wants to read and digest, you got it. But I want to ask, is there a message maybe that wants to come through? Because when we first started, you guys, for those who might be wondering what we're talking about, when we were just first starting this show together, my computer's plugged in. Obviously, I work from the space all the time. I've actually never seen this happen. All of a sudden, the computer goes, "To plug in your computer or you're going to lose your battery." And I'm like, it is plugged in. So I had to jank it out and pull it out of the wall and try to find another outlet, which some people might be like, that's coincidence. That's just, and you were like, oh, they're trying to talk to us. And I felt it too. And you said something, and I want you to repeat it again, which was about plugging into spirit. You're
Yeah.
like, what did you say? Which I think
Spirit,
just
I
now.
felt like it was spirit saying plug into source to spirit. And right, you're not plugged in, which means as we come together and have this conversation, let's really plug into the light.
Yeah.
And we set that intention just by having that brief conversation.
And
And
I was like, okay, we got the message. And I like plug it into another
and
thing.
then it worked. That's great. We're back
Okay,
online.
we're
Yeah.
plugging in. It was always my intention to have you on to plug in and to really share this information because I think people are really ready to start hearing it even more and more. But I want to
Mhm.
ask, is there a message that you think wants to come through for those who are
Yeah.
listening to this?
So I'm in between readings right now with you doing the podcast. So I'm really plugged in right now. And my last reading, right before I jumped on with you, there was a Michael. And so we weren't sure. It's definitely a spirit Michael. I just wasn't sure if it was the Archangel Michael or an
Yeah.
actual loved one named Michael who died. And so that could be for somebody just listening. And we may not be able to validate that unless you have a connection to a Michael or a very strong connection to Archangel Michael.
My deceased son, the middle name is Michael.
Okay. That's who was messing with the electricity. Okay, so Michael, what was, Michael's middle
First
or
name.
first name?
I've named him Hap after his great grandfather.
I love it. So we have him there, and he feels he doesn't feel like a little one, he feels like a giant expanded soul. So to me, it's a very old soul. He loves to talk to you, like he brushes by you. He's showing me like getting the chills, and he's showing me feathers. So feathers are a very common angel sign, but he's an earth angel. So he may not have had enough time here, like in our minds, like physically, but he made enough of an impression to make a lasting impression to say that it's almost like, I'm here, use me. Do you have a living child right now?
Yeah.
Okay, working with that one, is it a girl?
Yep.
Working with her and
Mhm.
guiding her, almost like an angel, guardian angel, and really proud of her voice. Like she's so articulate and so forthcoming, and she knows who she is. And he's showing me that you're the teacher for her in that, but he's behind the scenes as the protector. I see something about going to Hawaii. I don't know if you guys have been to Hawaii or you've been talking about going.
I just was in Hawaii leading women on a deep healing journey where we worked with indigenous healers. We cleared old trauma. He's
There you go.
definitely there at every
He
healing sessions I
he
do,
was
but
there with you.
yeah.
He's showing
Wow.
me yeah, and he's showing me that is like the tag team. We're a tag team duo. He's your silent partner helping you to show up and serve and help others. And so it's almost like what they're showing me right now is once he passed away, your psychic gifts expanded, the veil lifted. You had a stronger connection in agreement. Okay, if you're not going to be here physically, I need to energetically be more up to speed with your vibration. And so now you're leveled up. Okay. And he's very proud of you. And he's saying to you that this was always the plan. Nobody failed him. So, however he passed away, it wasn't anybody's fault. This was God's plan. And there's something about the irony of the timing of the passing. So, sometimes it means it happened on a holiday, a birthday, a death date, but there's like divine synchronicity in that. Was it around a holiday that was important?
My daughter, who I feel that he's connected to, I didn't know I was pregnant with her. When I found out I was pregnant with her, because I went to the doctor, I was like, I don't feel well because he had just passed. And I was like, not having a period, your hormones are out of whack. They were like, oh, you're pregnant. And they did this ultrasound and they said she was going to be born on the exact day he passed. Yeah, but she ended up coming earlier because we had to take her because I was having complications and we didn't want anything to happen to her. But that was the date. I was just like,
That was
what?
it.
Yeah.
That was it. And that was a just sign from above. This is healing. This is all divinely perfect, even though it doesn't always feel that way.
Yeah.
So he's there. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that was really profound.
Right.
I wondered if you had a message, and even though people are listening, and that I say, even though we brought up Michael in my life, I feel like it's a universal message for a
It
lot of
is.
us that I'm not more special or anything. It's just that I happen to have her on the show. And I feel like there are loved ones wanting to communicate with each one of you that are listening, because you wouldn't be listening if you weren't really resonating with this or needing this and this reminder in your life. And so I'm
Right.
excited for everyone to tap in and to
Yeah.
feel these loved ones that are really wanting to communicate.
Yeah, exactly. These are parallel messages. So if you heard something, anything that resonated, see it as a wink from above. And then also, I would encourage you to expand this experience and do some of the things we talked about today for yourself personally to connect. That's
Mhm.
really maybe why you're here. Spirit is saying, okay, now you have simple tools, just dive in and try it.
Mhm.
And it's very profoundly healing when you do.
Absolutely. Rebecca, I always ask everybody one last question. And I want Rebecca, because Rebecca is very tapped in right now. You're standing in front of millions of people and you know that you're going to be crossing over, and you have one last message for it's beyond millions. It's just you can't see to the eye, like all these people that are good to listen to one last message before you move cross over. What would that message be?
I could think of 10, but I would say you're never alone. Trust. It comes down to trust and trusting and believing you are never alone. You always have a lifeline to the other side, and the way in is through the heart. So it's about going within through the heart and feeling that support, that connection.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking time to be with all of us today and to share with us a really important message. It truly is. And for the gifts and for stepping into these gifts as a bold 20-year-old. Wow. So impressed. So thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Oh, thank you so much. It sounds like you're doing equally beautiful light work. So
I'm doing my best.
yes, but it's been a pleasure to connect with you and your listeners. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Rebecca. And I'm sending you so many blessings. Thanks for
Oh,
being on the
likewise.
show.
Thank you.
I loved having Rebecca on today. I think it's important that we have these open discussions, whether you're into this or not, or believe it or not. I don't think it hurts to tap in to really do what she'd suggest. And maybe even if you want to get more curious and you want to go down this, check out her books. I'll put them in the show notes, as well as a little bit about her social media. All right, sending so much love, you guys. I can't wait to see you on the next episode. And thank you so much for being a part of the Danette May Show.